that other state.
Well, you can't be wasting food.
You can't be wasting food.
Okay, so now you're in Seattle, and you're still a private, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the purpose of going to Seattle?
What were they going to ship us overseas?
They're shipping you overseas.
Yeah.
Okay.
You went in two groups, A group and the B group.
Okay.
The A group, they flew over.
Okay.
In the B group, they went by boat.
Okay. You were the B group.
I was in the B group.
Right, okay. And give me your experience.
Wait a minute. Old soldier told me one thing. He said, you will not get seasick. As they say, seasickness is 70% imagination. He said, before you get on a ship, eat something. Eat a lot, have a lot of food. And I remember the Red Cross was there, and the guy said one thing. He said, well, B Cross, I've been Blue Cross, Double Cross, but I wouldn't give a dime to the Red Cross, because all the Red Cross did was serve you donuts and coffee.
Okay.
Now we get ready to go overseas, we run into a typhoon. Now, on the typhoon, the ship is doing this and it's doing that. Now, shame on you if you got a lower boat berth on the ship, and somebody's up there is gurgitating all over the daggone place. And they would let us go out after the typhoon was over. They'd try to keep you on the deck as much as possible. And then they would call you down for mess. Well, the cats would go to the PX as much as they could, but everybody couldn't go. Now, you got over 5,000 troops on a ship.
Right. Was this a troop ship or was it a
troop
commercial?
ship.
Okay. Okay.
Called the USS Meigs.
Oh, okay.
And from there, we hit Camp Drake. And from Camp Drake, we went to Korea.
Okay. How many days did it take you to get to Camp Drake?
It took us about 2 weeks to go from Seattle to Camp Drake.
Camp Drake is in...
Camp Drake is in Japan.
Japan, okay. All right.
And see, at that particular time, in Japan, from 12 to 6, nobody could be on the streets but the MPs.
Oh, okay. And this was in 1951?
This was in 1951.
Okay, all right. All right. Let me just back up just a little bit. You had obviously had some. What was your military specialty at that point in time? Had you developed?
My MOS was I was combat construction specialist.
Okay, combat construction. Okay, so you had gotten that training at Lindenwood. Okay, so now you're at Camp Drake. How long were you at Camp Drake?
We were there for about 3 days. Then they put us on the LSDs and shipped us over to Sasebo.
Okay.
And from there we went to our outfits.
Okay. 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 Now we've chronologically caught up with everything. Yeah. Okay. But how were you during this period of time? How were you communicating with home? And by letter?
Yeah, by letter.
Okay. Okay. All right. Did you ever experience any homesickness? I mean, other than the normal, just want to be around family and friends.
No, it wasn't anything like that. And see, I tried to enlist in the Army in 1947. I was 6'4" and 1/4. I weighed 143 pounds. I came to Chicago and I passed the test except for one thing. I was underweight. And they told me to go home and eat some bananas and put on some weight. Well, then my mind changed about going into service. And then it wasn't until I was drafted in December the 4th, 1950, that I went into service.
Sure, okay.
And I spent a time in there, and it was a work battalion. And they said if you had a complaint, you could go see the IG. Well, I said I wanted to get out of that work battalion. I would go to the infantry, anything to get out of the work battalion.
Now, where were you when you were in this work battalion?
Oh, that was when I was at the 74th ECB.
Okay, in Korea.
In Korea.
Okay, okay, all right.
So when the IG came, I went to see the IG. And it was a full colonel named Colonel Bunker. I'll never forget him. He stood 6'4". I stood 6'5". So I looked down at him, you know, and he sat there and he talked to me and he said, if you want to transfer, you can apply for a transfer. He said, but 99 out of 100, they're not going to transfer you. But that is your prerogative to ask for a transfer. So I went. First sergeant told him I want to transfer. Boom. Fill out a form, blah, blah, blah. What I didn't know was he took the form, tore it up, and threw it in the waste paper basket. But that's where he didn't reckon with me. And I want to get out. I want to get out of this. I want to get out of this company. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. So I wrote the IG and told him that I hadn't heard from them. So now the IG comes back. You know, they're supposed to announce the day before he gets there. And so when he comes to the company, he asked, did anybody want to see the IG? They said, no, sir. Nobody want to see the IG. He said, I've never been to an outfit where a soldier didn't have some kind of complaint about the food or something or nothing like that. No, sir, it was announced. He said, well, since nobody wants to see me, he said, I want to see Private Crosby. So we were out working on a bridge. They looked up, the IG comes out, and my platoon leader, I always remember him because he didn't do nothing but stand by with his rifle, whispering, when I grow too old to dream. So Lieutenant comes over and says, the colonel wants to see Private Crosby. I said, ooh. So I went over, saluted, and talked to the colonel for about an hour. Now, everybody wonder, how can a private go talk to a full chicken? And he told me, he said, now, what they did, they blocked it. He said, but you go back, fill out the offer, said, make it fill out on triplicate. You keep one. Now, we know you got one, you understand? Come back. And my my company commander passed by, because in order to take a bath, we were near a stream. You go down to the stream. This was in the summertime. And when he passed by, I heard him tell one of the guys, that's him. That's Crosby. My platoon leader told me, he said, look, I don't know what you did, but you got this whole company shook up. And he said, they're not going to fool with you. Because you go talk to the IG, and he said, whatever they tell you to do, you go ahead and do it. And you know, when he answered my letter, you get mail call. Okay, blah blah blah. When the IG answered my letter, the first sergeant called me in and said, here's the letter. I picked it up. I said, look at here. I wonder why this letter wasn't in mail call. I said, hope didn't nobody try to steam it open. Let me see. And I put it in my pocket and walked on out. And he told me that the sergeant major in battalion denied my request. So I mean, I had a whole lot. I had a whole lot of experiences.
Man. Okay. So now you're in Korea. Were you ever in combat, or were you near the combat zone? Or?
Yeah, I passed by what they call the 38 parallel.
Okay. All right.
When you pass the 38 parallel, that was a sign. You passed the 38 parallel. And we went into Kumwal Valley. Kumwal Valley was where they had the artillery outfits. And what they did, see, the artillery outfits would be firing all night long.
Okay.
You become accustomed to that.
Sure.
And we got a new company commander who came in, who could sober better drunk than all his officers could sober.
Oh, okay.
the